All right, so I'm gonna put a shadow in, which I thought originally was gonna be very easy, but it's not gonna be very easy. It's this cylinder, right? It's gonna cast a shadow on this top plane, it's gonna cast a shadow on the side plane, and then part of it's gonna cast a shadow on this guy here. I'll do this one first. This is really simple. And just so you know, this does not wedge into that, so it would go behind it. But I'll do the easy one first. What I'm going to do is get my angle from my existing corner or my existing purple line that I drew earlier. I'm going to slide it down to right where that corner meets. Oops, slid on me. I got to do it again. Darn it. Okay, I'm going to slide back down where that corner meets right here. And I'm going to put my purple line in. And on that purple line, I'm going to get that's a dark value. So I'm going to get my F pencil or my HB pencil. And I'm just going to fill in that tone. That's really simple. It's kind of fun once you've done all this work and you can throw something in pretty quickly and get a sense of light. And the nice thing about this, by adding another darker tone, it just makes the reflected light more obvious and it makes things kind of pop out more. So that's done. That's easy, right? And again, it goes behind this form, but if this was wedged in, then I would probably use that as a guide to figure out the rest of the shadow. Now, here's the tricky part. If you look at this drawing here, I just made this and I was trying to figure out how this would all work out. So I figured that the angle of the light, if I continued to line straight up here, that would find the top and I could put the angle of the light in. Once I get the angle of the light in, I put the shadow angle in, and then once they meet, I'm just going to draw a straight line. From there, that tells me where the shadow ends. From there, I just go over, meet there, until I hit this corner. This is the corner of the cube form thing there, and then the shadow drops and follows the same line, right? So basically the shadow is going to do this, and then right around here I drew a line and it's parallel to this line, right where this line meets the corner there. And when this comes in and intersects there, I think this is when the loop happens, where it starts to curl and then follow the same parallel as that. At least that's what I'm going with. So this whole thing would be in shadow. Now, it all depends. Well, it looks right. I mean, it sounds logical. And when you start to do this, sometimes you realize, oh, that was not how that should look. I have to go back and start from scratch. But so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw this line up here, and I'm just going to put a little point so I know where that is. Get my purple line. Sight my angle. Pull it down. Again. Sight my angle, slide it down. So wherever that line was, there it is. Draw a line. So I'm just gonna make that line a little more obvious. I had a line here, I didn't need it. I don't want to erase it because then I'm gonna erase it. I shouldn't have done that. So it's fine, leave it. Once I put that purple line in, then I can take my shadow line, which is all the way up here, and I gotta slide it all the way down. I'm just trying to not get in the way of the video here. Looks good to me. Hold this down and slide it all the way to that corner, and now I'm gonna go out. Okay, that just told me where these two lines meet. That's the end of the shadow. So I'm gonna take this parallel line here, and I'm gonna draw it up right where those two lines intersect. Okay, this tells me two things. It tells me where this shadow is going to meet the side of the plane, and it also shows me where I can just curve this line and mimic the curve of the cylinder, if I can remember that name. Now I'm going to, where this little line intersects that diagonal line right there, I'm going to drop a vertical line. And I'm just going to line it up with my existing lines. That's why I use a graph ruler. It makes things really easy. So I'm dropping a vertical line. As you can see, I just did that there. And then with my angled line here, I'm going to slide that down to the corner. And just so you know, like, this took me a while to figure out. I didn't just, oops, it's not just there. You really have to look at it, study it. Every situation's different. You have to do a sketch and try to figure it out. So this line I just made is parallel to that line. And this is where you would think that the shadow ends, but I'm going to make it longer because I'm going to do something here so I can see the shadow. That's different, and I'll talk about that in another video. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to like loop this around, trying to follow somewhat of a curve here, and then I'm just going to bring it back in to the valley or the parallel line here. Now, if I'm wrong about this, so be it. But this is the best I can do, and that's kind of how I'm going to go about it. I think I am wrong. Am I wrong? Now, I'm thinking to myself, and I'm kind of glad this is on video. Does this line that goes vertical down on the plane, you could also go on a diagonal this way. Once it hits that, it would go on the same diagonal as this. So I'm going to draw both lines in and just see which looks best. Oh, that's pretty strong diagonal, huh? So I put this line in and I put this diagonal in. This wouldn't go on forever. So if this was the center here, this went out. Well, I'm stuck. But for now, what I'm going to do is just get my F pencil. I'm going to fill in this space here. And if I'm wrong, I can always add. But if I'm right, I can just leave it. So that seems to be a safe bet right now. I'm going to lightly add the shadow. And live with it for a while, and then I will make my decision later. Wish I did not use that pencil for that. See how that pencil just lightened that line, or went on not the way I wanted it to. I'm going to lighten this up. Use a 3H. That's what I should have done. Okay. Then I put this in. And I'm going in a different direction, just kind of building up the value. And the more I'm looking at this, the more I know this is wrong. So I'm going to turn the video off because this is not right. This is not right. It's the angle. It goes like that. So I'm going to stop. Okay, after a little time alone, without the pressure of making a video. The nice thing about all the transparency is I can kind of figure something out, or it helps me to figure something out. There is a center access line that goes through the center of this front of the cylinder. And you can see it's in blue there. So I'm going to get my purple line, purple pencil. That's what I've been using. And I'm going to extend it to right here. What I'm going to do now, along this angle here, because this line I just made is parallel to all the other diagonals. Once it meets the shadow or the edge here, I'm going to take it across in this direction. And I just have to make sure that my line is parallel, so I'm going to have to slide. Slide. There we go. Come on, get down there. And then I can take this out. Okay. This was much more difficult than I thought. So far, this is correct. The top plane, I think. No, and what I'm going to do next is, on a personal note, I'm going to determine how far I want the shadow to go. And I'm just going to end the shadow about right here. And you can kind of see. So what I'm going to do now is just make a nice curve to that point. And if I figure out later that I'm just making up where the shadow ends and it actually comes out further, then I will make those adjustments later. But this is basically where I'm going to put it now. And then it comes, and then you can kind of loop in full circle, because this is where the corner is, right? And so this would kind of come down here and then loop its way in. So this little area that I had there might not come through here, and then eventually it's going to curve and then straighten out. That feels a lot better. That was not easy. And this is where it straightens out. So it's a little higher than I anticipated. And now if I put this value in, which is, I think I had an F, it's going to look a little better, I think. And I'm not concerned about all these lines I have, because it's kind of part of the drawing. It'll fade out. And again, this is just one value step darker than the other tones. And I'm just going to go in a different direction. That feels better. Now, if I wanted to make it longer, I mean, I deliberately chose to stop it here because I like how the value shifts. And if this shadow went into there, then I think it would just get a little too confusing with monotone. So I deliberately lied about where it would end for the sake of the composition. And I'll make my final commitment to it later, but for now I'm just going with this. If I feel I have to, if I learned something along the way where I know I did this totally wrong, or then I can make those changes later. All right, now what I would probably do, if you could see the shadow, eventually I might make this edge or this form just a little darker, because the shadow, so the shadow is a little lighter, because this is not facing the sun, so it's going to get darker. So I can finish that later, but you can kind of see how this is getting darker and this is getting lighter. And I can maybe go in there and try to clean that up. the little lip. But as of now, I believe this is correct. Okay,